All right, good evening, everyone. Would you please take a seat? All right, good evening. My name is Noreen Smith, and I'm your town moderator for the town of Charlton. I hereby call our annual town meeting to order. And I'm pleased to share my sister mailed me my grandfather's gavel from the Pulaski Club of Stamford, Connecticut, so I'm delighted to use it tonight. Okay, it's my pleasure to share with you the return of the warrant. To either of the constables in the town of Charlton in the county of Worcester, greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify the inhabitants of the town of Charlton qualified to vote in elections to meet in the Heritage School, Oxford Road, in said Charlton on Saturday, May 1st at 8 o'clock in the forenoon, when the polls will be opened for the annual election of officers. After action is taken on Article 1 of this warrant, to meet again on Monday, May 17th, 2021 at 7 o'clock in the evening at Charlton Middle School, Oxford Road, in said Charlton, for the purpose of taking action on the remaining articles listed in the warrant. That the polls for the annual election of officers on Saturday, May 1st, 2021 will be closed at 8 o'clock in the evening, and that the remainder of this meeting on Monday, May 17th, 2021, will be adjourned at 11 o'clock in the evening unless voted otherwise by the registered voters present, and that the articles in this warrant shall be deemed part of the annual town meeting of the town of Charlton for the fiscal year 2022. Before we take action on the articles in the warrant, I'll invite you to please rise, remove your hats, and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. And please remain standing after the Pledge of Allegiance for a moment of silence. I should have brought my flag with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please remain standing for a moment of silence as we remember those who passed away during the last year, including those citizens named in our town's annual report and others, such as active town meeting member and World War II veteran Matt Smith. Thank you. First, I would like to congratulate all the new members of the boards and commissions who were elected during the recent town election, and thank all of those retiring members who served the town faithfully for many years. I will introduce the stage. We're a little in a different arrangement today. On my left is the town clerk and members of the finance committee at both tables. To my right is town council, our town administrator, Andrew Golis, and our select board. Would the selectmen like to introduce yourselves, please?
Masha Zarowski, Tricia Midlaff,
Steve Coronas.
Henry Wylands.
Bill Borowski.
Thank you. And behind me, we have the town finance director and assistant finance director. Okay. In the event of an emergency, please exit the auditorium carefully. There are several points of egress at both the front and the back of the auditorium. Please do not sit in the rows if you can avoid it, where the caution tape is placed. The idea is to leave 6 feet of distance between all of the voters so that we maintain health and safety this evening. Our next order of business is to review the procedures and protocols for town meeting. You do have a one-page sheet at the front of your town meeting warrant that provides an overview of some of the rules and proceedings for the town meeting, and I'll review some of the most important ones. Non-voters, that would be people who are not residents of the town of Charlton and not registered to vote, are asked to be seated at the front part of the auditorium, to my left, your right. Please remain seated during the meeting and refrain from side conversations. When considering action on an article, I will call for a motion and then a second, and then I will open the floor for discussion. If anyone would like to speak, this is your meeting for the town voters present. If you'd like to speak, come to the microphone, state your name and your address so we verify that you are a town resident, and wait to be recognized. So I will repeat your name, recognize you, and then please offer your comments. All questions and discussions will be limited to the matters posted in the warrant. So this is not an open forum on any topic. We're sticking to the matters to be decided in the forum. And we will avoid matters of personality and any issues specifically not outlined in the warrant. I will ask people to keep your comments to 3 minutes if possible. I'm also advised to notify you concerning disorderly conduct. Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 39, Section 17, if you fail to comply with our established protocols, you will be warned by me and then removed if necessary. All voters should have an electronic voting device. So if you are a registered voter and you're in this room, you should have your device with you. If you leave before the meeting is over, please do not take this device with you. That will cause us to have to halt the meeting, because this cannot go into the hands of someone who is a non-voter in Charlton and disrupt the voting. So if you do have to leave, please return your device at the entrance if you picked it up. When the vote is called, your device will be activated. You're going to press green for yes, red for no. It's kind of, the normal. And we'll use a test question to practice with the device. So the questions will also appear here if we have the motions ahead of time. If there are motions made during the meeting that we don't have, they will not be present on the screen. So our test voting question, just to make sure your devices are working, is, does an apple a day keep the doctor away? So you're going to now vote, please. You'll have 30 seconds to vote. There's a clock that starts. So press green for yes, red for no. If you press multiple times, the last vote that you enter is the vote that will be recorded before the timer ends, okay? And I'll try to call for 10 seconds. So there are 10 seconds remaining. And when you press, it should have shown a little okay in there, if you can see that. Okay, so we have some disagreement whether an apple a day actually keeps the doctor away. Who knew this was a hot question for the town? So 7332, so that suggests we have 105 voters in the room. And just to calculate out our 2/3 votes now, knowing that that could change if others join us. So 70 would be our 2/3 vote. So an apple a day, in fact, does keep the doctor away, just for the record. Okay. So since Article 1 was addressed at our town elections on Saturday, May 1st, we will begin with Article 2. Article 2 is town reports. To see if the town will vote to accept the reports of its officers for the past year or take any action relative thereto or thereon.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town accept the reports of its officers for the past year as printed in the annual town report.
Mr. Borowski.
Sorry.
So if you can wait to be recognized, we're going to practice on the first question. Mr. Borowski, thank you. I have a motion. Is there a second? I have a second. A motion and a second. Is there any discussion to be had? Hearing none. All in favor? Please vote now. And those against, also vote no on the red if you must. .10 seconds remaining. 105 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative. The motion carries. Article 3, litigation. To see what action the town will take in relation to prosecuting and defending actions or suits for and against the town, or take any action relative thereto or thereon. This motion is sponsored by the Board of Selectmen.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Borowski.
I move that town council be authorized to prosecute and defend actions for and against the town.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. Is there any discussion to be had? Hearing none. Please vote. For those just joining us, green in favor of the motion, red against the motion. And 2 in the affirmative, 5 in the negative. The motion carries. Article 4, appropriation of funds for unpaid bills of a prior fiscal year. To see if the town will vote to raise by taxation, transfer, or borrow and appropriate a sum or sums to accounts to be specified at the town meeting for payment of one or more prior fiscal year's bills not paid due to an insufficiency of appropriation or for any other reason, or take any action relative thereto or thereon. This motion is sponsored by the Board of Selectmen.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Borowski.
I move that the following prior year bills not previously paid due to late billing be paid from the following FY 2020 accounts as printed below.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion to be had? Hearing none. Please vote. Green for affirmative, red for negative. We're going to do that again. Hold on one moment. We're going to try that again. So again, we are voting on Article 4, appropriation of funds for unpaid bills of a prior fiscal year.
Hold on one second. Oh, maybe you did.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's back.
Okay.
All right.
That's 4, right? Yep.
98 in the affirmative, 9 in the negative. The motion carries. It only required a majority vote needed. Okay, Article 5, intra-departmental transfers for FY21. To see if the town will vote to transfer and appropriate sums to be specified at the annual town meeting within departmental accounts from one line item of such accounts to another line item or line items of such accounts for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021, or take any action relative thereto or thereon. This motion is sponsored by, article is sponsored by the Board of Selectmen.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Borowski.
I move that the following sums be transferred and appropriated to the following accounts for any purpose for which funds may be expended from the latter accounts, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen or Chief Procurement Officer to enter into such contracts, including leases, and to take such other action as may be necessary or advisable to effectuate the purposes of the foregoing vote, each item being considered a separate appropriation as listed below.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion to be had? Mr. Meskis? So I will turn to... Thank you. Point of order. Can we verify that the microphone in the front is working, please? So the question posed was, what is the balance of the free cash account? And I will ask our finance director to provide us with the balance.
The amount, the amount in free cash is $258,327.
$258,327 is the balance in free cash. Is there anything further to be said? Okay, hearing nothing, we need a majority vote to approve this. Please vote now. All in favor, green. Those opposed, red. Ten seconds. $100 votes in the affirmative, 14 in the negative. The motion carries. Article 6, the town budget. To see if the town will vote to raise, borrow, or transfer and appropriate such sums of money as may be necessary to defray the expenses of the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021, and as provided by General Laws, Chapter 14, Section 108, to fix the salaries and compensation of all elected officers of the town as set forth in the budget, voted under this article, or as separately voted by the town under other articles of the warrant for this meeting, or take any action relative thereto or thereon. This article is sponsored by the Finance Committee, and there is a change in the budget I would like to call your attention to before I call for a motion. So in the back of your package, you have the full Article 6 town budget presentation. Would you please turn to the page numbered page 23 at the bottom? I'll give you a moment to get there. It's under the DPW. Page 23. Midway on the page, under DPW, Highway Unit, the first line reads, Highway Salaries. The dollar amount in the far right corner and the Department Request and Finance Committee recommendations should be modified by reducing the dollar amount by $200. So instead of it reading $850,400, that line should read $850,200. That provides the same bottom line, so there is no, that was a mathematical error. And that is the only change that is needed for Article 6 of the town budget. So do I have a motion?
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Borowski.
I move at A, that the amounts of money set forth in the columns headed FY 2022 FinCom recommendation and rows headed for departmental totals for personnel and expenses in the report prepared and voted by the Finance Committee for recommendation at the annual town meeting on May 17th, 2021, entitled Town of Charlton FY 2022 Annual Town Meeting Warrant, FY 2022 Town Budget Recommendations of the Finance Committee, May 17th, 2021, Article 6, as most recently revised, except for those items which are covered by other articles, be appropriated for the several purposes therein itemized. $1,190,000 to be transferred from ambulance RRFA, $5,000 to be transferred from Sailor Cemetery lots RRFA, $80,420 to be transferred from the dam RRFA, $15,000 to be transferred from the Wetlands Protection RRFA, $90,000 to be transferred from Cable RRFA, $4,230 from fund balance reserved for bond premiums, and $30,923,002 to be raised by taxation. Each item marked with an asterisk being considered a separate appropriation. And B, to fix the salaries and compensation of all elected officers of the town as set forth in the budget voted under this article, or as separately voted by the town under other articles of the warrant for this meeting, and to fund any settled union contracts as corrected by the moderator.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. May I have the recommendation of the Finance Committee, please?
The Finance Committee supports this motion.
Thank you. May I have the recommendation of the Board of Selectmen?
The Board of Selectmen supports this motion.
Thank you. A majority vote is needed. Is there anything to be said on this matter?
Ira Balin, 6 Nelson Road.
I'm sorry, could you say your name again?
Yeah, first name is Ira, last name is Balin.
Mr. Balin, thank you.
Page 20, line number 79.
Page 20, line 79.
If my math is correct, that's roughly a 7.8% increase in salary, which seems excessive to me. Can I get a rationale, please?
So this is an increase in the Human Resource Director's salary from $75,982 in fiscal year 2021 to the proposed $81,900 in 2022. Andrew?
In FY 2020, that position was not filled, so we did not have anybody in that role. This is the current salary of the person in that role.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anything further to be said?
Madam Moderator?
Mr. Sage.
Stephen Sage, 41 Lincoln Point Road. On behalf of the trustees of the Charlton Public Library, I would like to thank the citizens, the businesses of the town for their 15 years of support in the reconstruction of the town library. If you look at the debt page, which is the last page, we have paid fully the debt that we incurred to produce the amazing building that sits across from Town Hall. I am very proud of the services that we have provided the citizens of Charlton through the pandemic, being only closed for a couple months. It's a honor to work with the staff who have been putting out materials, providing programs, providing materials for children throughout the pandemic. This is a remarkable place, and the support of this community is highly appreciated. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anything further to be said on Article 6, the town budget? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. We need a majority vote to pass. Please vote now. Green is for approve the motion, red is for reject the motion. And the motion, the budget passes 97 in the affirmative to 21 against. Article 7, the Water Department Budget Enterprise Fund. To see if the town will vote to raise by taxation, borrow, or transfer from available funds and appropriate to the Water Enterprise Fund such sums of money as may be necessary together with revenue from Water Department operations, to defray the expenses of the Water Department for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021, or take any action relative thereto or thereon. The sponsor of this article is the Water and Sewer Commission, and I do have a brief amendment to what is printed in your town warrant. The vote on this article will need to be a 2/3 supermajority, not a simple majority vote, because it does involve a transfer of funds from the stabilization fund. So do I have a motion?
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Borowski.
I move that $96,800 be appropriated for the Water Enterprise Fund, of which $3,800 is for personal services and $93,000 is for expenses. That $4,781 be included in appropriations from the general fund for indirect costs and be allocated to the Water Enterprise Fund, and that $13,500 be raised from Water Enterprise fees. $33,300 be raised from Water Enterprise retained earnings, and $50,000 be transferred from the Water Stabilization Fund to the FY 2022 Water Department Enterprise Fund account, to be expended on the direction of the Water and Sewer Commissioners for the respective expense purposes set forth in the last column below the heading Water Enterprise Expenses, each item being marked with an asterisk, being considered a separate appropriation.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Motion and a second. Is there anything to be said on this article? Hearing none. Please vote. Seconds. So the vote is 104 in the affirmative, 13 in the negative. We needed 78 votes for a 2/3 majority, so the motion carries. Article 8, Sewer Department Budget Enterprise Fund. To see if the town will vote to raise by taxation, borrow, or transfer from available funds and appropriate to the Sewer Enterprise Fund such sums of money as may be necessary, together with revenue from the Sewer Department operations, to defray the expenses of the Sewer Department for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021, or take any action relative thereto or thereon. This article is sponsored by the Water and Sewer Commission, and I do have a change to note in your warrant. At the bottom of page 5, on which Article 8 is printed, the total dollar amount of the FinCom recommendation should total $136,500. So please replace the $133,800 with $136,500. Additionally, on the next page, page 6, there's just a carry forward math error. Under Total Sewer Enterprise Fund, midway on the page, the bottom line of that area, there's an underline to it. The far right-hand column and the department request and the FinCom request, both of the far right columns, one has an asterisk with it, and it currently reads 1304400. It should read 1305100. That's a correction to both the department request and the FinCom request. Further down, under Sewer Enterprise Revenues, on that same page 6, the FinCom and department request on the top line of usage charge under sewer revenues is $856,700. So there should be an additional $700 in that line. The bottom line, subsidy from taxation, should be zero for both the department request and the FinCom request columns, which are the two right-hand columns. Those should be zeroed out, leaving the total sewer revenues at the bottom line of page 6 should read $1,305,100. Incorporating those corrections to the presentation, do we have a motion?
Madam Moderator.
Mr. Borowski.
Just a quick point of order. As the moderator mentioned, the motion I'm about to read is slightly different than what is printed, but it reflects what the moderator just spoke to.
Thank you.
So, Madam Moderator, I move that $1,305,100 be appropriated for the Sewer Enterprise Fund, of which $136,500 is for personal services and $1,168,600 is for expenses. That $79,217 be included in appropriations from the general fund for indirect costs and be allocated to the Sewer Enterprise Fund, and that $856,700 be raised from sewer enterprise fees. $140,000 be raised from sewer enterprise privilege fees, and $308,400 be raised from sewer enterprise betterment fees to the FY 2022 Sewer Department Enterprise Fund account to be expended on the direction of the Water and Sewer Commissioners for the respective expense purposes set forth in the last column below under the heading Sewer Enterprise Expenses, each item being marked with an asterisk, each being considered a separate appropriation.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Thank you. A motion and a second. Is there any discussion to be had? Hearing none. All in favor, please vote with your green button. Those opposed, vote with the red. Please vote now. Five seconds. $109 votes in the affirmative, 16 in the negative. The motion carries. A simple majority is needed. Article 9, capital items and related contracts. To see if the town will vote to raise by taxation, borrow, or transfer from available funds, including so-called free cash, and funds previously appropriated to other uses, and appropriate a sum or sums to purchase capital items and for service, repair, improvement, architectural, construction, renovation, improvement, and/or other contracts relating to town buildings, facilities, and other property, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen, Chief Procurement Officer, or other appropriate town official, board, commission, or committees to enter into such contracts or leases, and to take other such action as may be necessary to effectuate the purposes of such votes, or take any action relative thereto or thereon. Sponsor of this article was the Board of Selectmen and various departments. Do we have a motion?
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Borowski.
I move to pass over until the fall town meeting.
We have a motion to pass this article over until the fall town meeting. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion to be had? Hearing none. All in favor, vote green. Those opposed, vote red. 109 in the affirmative, 16 in the negative. The motion carries. 13. Excuse me. 109 in the affirmative, 13 opposed. The motion carries. I will note, I was moving a little too quickly. The recommendation of the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen were both in support of passing over. Article 10, transfer of funds to and from stabilization fund account. To see if the town will vote to add funds to and/or transfer and appropriate sums from the stabilization fund account to an account or accounts to be determined at town meeting, including but not limited to, for purposes of acquiring land in the town, or take any action relative thereto or thereon. This article is sponsored by the Board of Selectmen. Do we have a motion?
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Borowski.
I move to pass over until fall town meeting.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Recommendation of the Finance Committee, please.
Finance Committee supports passing over this article.
Thank you. Recommendation of the Board of Selectmen.
The Board of Selectmen supports passing over this article.
Thank you. Is there any discussion to be had? Hearing none. Please vote. Those in favor, press green. Those opposed, press red. Five seconds. $104 in the affirmative, 15 in the negative. It was noted in your warrant that a two-thirds vote was needed. That was if we were going to consider the question because it involved stabilization fund transfers. But a motion to postpone or pass over does not require a supermajority, so the motion carries. Article 11, Cemetery Perpetual Care. To see if the town will vote to accept the sum of $11,300 as trust funds from individual persons, the income of each such sum to be used for the perpetual care of the Charlton cemeteries, or take any action relative thereto or thereon. This article is sponsored by the Cemetery Commission. Do we have a motion?
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Borowski.
I move that Article 11 be accepted as printed.
Thank you. A motion and a second. Is there any discussion to be had? Hearing none. Please vote now. Those in favor of acceptance, green. Those opposed, press red. Ten seconds remaining. $118 voted in the affirmative, 4 voted in the negative. Motion carries. Article 12, revolving funds. To see if the town, upon recommendation of the Board of Selectmen, will vote as authorized by Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, to reestablish and/or establish the following revolving funds, and to authorize the official commission, board, or committee specified in the first column below to expend funds from the specified account without further appropriation, provided that the amount to be expended from such account in the fiscal year commencing this coming July 1st shall not exceed the amount set forth in the fourth column unless an additional amount or amounts are recommended by both the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee. Or take any action relative thereto or thereon. So this includes the table as printed on pages 8 and 9 of the warrant. This article is sponsored by the Board of Selectmen. Do we have a motion?
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Borowski.
I move that Article 12 be accepted as printed.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there anything to be said on this matter? Hearing none. Please vote now. Ten seconds remaining. (109) in the affirmative, 11 in the negative. The motion carries. A majority vote was needed. Article 13, to rescind the Public Safety Building loan authorization. To see if the town will vote to rescind $27,100,000 unissued amount of the $28,500,000 that was authorized to be borrowed by a vote of the town passed at the annual town meeting held on May 20th, 2019, under Article 16, for the construction of a new public safety complex, which is no longer needed for the purpose for which it was initially approved, or take any action relative thereto or thereon. This article is sponsored by the Board of Selectmen. Do we have a motion?
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Borowski.
I move that the town votes to rescind the amount of $27,100,000, which represents authorized but unissued debt of the town, originally appropriated for the construction of a public safety facility, approved by a vote of town meeting under Article 16 on May 20th, 2019, which borrowing authority is no longer required for the purposes for which it was originally approved.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. May I have the recommendation of the Finance Committee, please?
Finance Committee supports this motion.
Thank you. May I have a recommendation of the Board of Selectmen?
The Board of Selectmen supports this motion.
Thank you. Is there any discussion to be had? And I will just add, when you are done using the microphone, if you don't mind using one of the sanitary wipes, just for our COVID precautions. I appreciate it. Hello, Mr. Cloutier.
Yes, would anybody like to explain where the $1.4 million that was appropriated but is not being returned was spent, just so people know? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Andrew?
So
could
that
you
money,
speak well
sorry.
into the mic?
Yeah, so that money was spent on construction, design, development, up to a bid price, which was presented prior to the debt exclusion vote last year.
So we spent the $1.4 million on a building we're not going to build.
That is correct.
I just want people to know that, because to me, you either build it or you don't build it, but being in between is not good.
Thank you. Duly noted. Is there any other discussion?
I couldn't hear that.
So the question was, where did the 1.4 million go of the original 28.5 that was authorized to be borrowed by the town? And the answer was, it was spent on design for the original building as proposed. Thank you. Is there anything further to be said? Okay, we have a motion and a second. And please vote. Ten seconds remaining. A majority vote is needed. We have 111 votes in the affirmative, 14 in the negative. The motion carries. Article 14, Fire Station Design. To see if the town will appropriate by borrowing, taxation, transfer from available funds, or otherwise, a sum of money to pay costs of this acquisition, as well as costs of retaining an owner's project manager and paying costs of a feasibility study and schematic design services, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, or take any other action relative thereto or thereon. This motion is sponsored by the Board of Selectmen. Do we have a motion?
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Borowski.
I move that the town appropriate $674,000 to paying cost of designing a new fire station, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the selectmen, is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, subsection 7-1, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore. The Board of Selectmen, Chief Procurement Officer, or any other appropriate town official or officials are authorized to enter into such contracts and to take other such actions as may be necessary to effectuate the purposes of this vote. Any premium received upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the cost of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of cost approved by this vote in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 20, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount.
Chapter 44, Mass General Law.
Oh, forgive me, Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 20.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. May I please have the recommendation of the Finance Committee?
Finance Committee supports this motion.
Thank you. May I please have the recommendation of the Board of Selectmen?
The Board of Selectmen supports this motion.
Thank you. This motion requires a 2/3 supermajority. Is there any discussion to be had? Mr. Sage.
I'm assuming that the $674,000, which is about half what was already appropriated before, is because we have a basic design and we'll only need to be modifying it. Can somebody correct me if I'm incorrect?
Thank you. Andrew?
So this would move us to schematic design and to design development based off of feasibility plans that we currently have under the previously appropriated amount.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion to be had? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please vote with the green button. Those opposed, please vote with the red button. Please vote now. Seconds. 75 votes in the affirmative, 53 in the negative. I do not believe we have, I don't believe we have a supermajority. Let me just verify that. It would have required 85 votes in the affirmative. It did not achieve the supermajority. The motion does not carry on Article 14. Yes. Okay, we have a motion to reconsider Article 14. We have a motion and a second to reconsider Article 14. Is there any discussion to be had on reconsideration of this article? Excuse me, there's a point of order question. Whether the article of reconsideration could be offered unless there is new information to be offered. Articles for reconsideration, if you'll pause for one moment, I just need to clarify. Just going to pause for a moment to verify a matter on this motion. So I'll just, because this is a point of interest in terms of parliamentary procedure, generally reconsideration of an article can't be moved unless it's a person who voted against the article and some additional information came to light, so that you don't just stall an article and keep it in perpetual cycle for consideration until a vote is passed. However, given that we do not have the ability to identify who voted in the affirmative and who voted in the negative, thanks to our handy-dandy electronic devices, I will allow it regardless of how the individual voted in this instant. If there is additional information to bring to light in the discussion, I will not allow a second reconsideration. I will notify all town meeting members now that you have the opportunity to bring additional information to light should this motion to reconsider pass. So I'm going to allow So we have a motion to reconsider Article 14, Fire Station Design. Do we have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. Okay, is there any discussion to be had on reconsideration of Fire Station Design? In other words, justification for reopening the vote? Is there new information that would make it reasonable? Could you please come to the microphone, say your name and where you live in town, please?
My name is Chris Kowalski. I live at 98 Oxford Road.
Mr. Kowalski, what is your comment, please?
I'm trying to get clarity on where we are at with this question in terms of me personally, I believe that the fire department deserves and requires a new station. But what I'm trying to understand is, are we voting to appropriate additional funding for the designs which I believe the voters have already said no to? Or are we looking at a revised design at a lower price point.
So I will just offer clarification that when we rescinded Article 13, that dispensed with the original proposed public safety building, which was a combined police and fire station. We're now talking about a new fire station-only design, and the dollar amount that was considered in the article and in the motion was to be allocated to pay for the design of that new building. But the town administrator shared with us just a moment ago that some of the money of the original feasibility study is still comes to bear to the cost of the project. So it has reduced the total amount of the design somewhat. Is that clear?
So we are considering $674,000 for a new set of plans and a revised design at a lower price point than the original proposal.
So for a
Fire
fire
station only.
For a fire station only. And what the motion on the table at this moment is a motion to reconsider the vote on the fire station design, which did not pass.
Thank you for the clarity.
Thank you. So it sounds like, Mr. Kowalski, that you're offering that it was not clear and that therefore, relative to...
I would ask for a revote.
You are therefore asking for a reconsideration. So you're speaking in support of reconsideration. Thank you.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Ed Knopf, 46 Oxford Road.
Thank you, Chief Knopf.
Also the fire chief. Yes, just point of clarity, this is for a fire station only. It has been redesigned away from the public safety building based on the vote of last year. The people voted against the public safety building, so we went back to the town and asked for a fire station only. That is what this vote is for on this ballot question, or question, sorry.
Thank you. So you're providing the clarification likewise to this question. Anything else to be said that has not been said already relative to the motion to reconsider, after which we will then discuss, if it passes, in more detail this proposal? Yes,
So I'm assuming once again that this Stephen Sage, 41 Lincoln Point Road.
Mr. Sage.
I'm assuming that the only way we will find out what the cost of a new fire station alone would be is if we do a feasibility study. We currently have an antiquated building that's well over 30 years, because I've lived in this town that long. Years ago, we had a maintenance Quonset hut, which I called Shantytown, and we rebuilt a more modern facility for our highway department. I think when we have this kind of lack of quality in town, we really do need to find out what a fire station will cost us, so we can vote in the future on that project.
so you are speaking in favor of the motion to reconsider in order to get an answer to your question regarding feasibility. Is that
Correct.
correct? Okay, thank you.
Madam Moderator,
Yes,
Kristen Costigian, 88 Carroll Hill Road.
Ms. Costigian.
I wanted to just offer that the borrowing of the 1.4 million for the public safety complex did not increase personal property taxes in town. That was paid for within the debt is not being assessed on top of your personal property taxes. And this 674, just because the word borrowing is in the article, doesn't necessarily mean that your personal property taxes will increase. Is that correct?
So are you speaking in favor of reconsideration of the motion
I
in order
am,
to
and I'm
answer
just-
that question?
Yes, I'm in favor of reconsideration, and I'm explaining that I think that sometimes when the word borrowing is in the article, people will automatically assume that it means that their personal property taxes will automatically increase.
And that may have,
Sometimes we can pay the debt within the existing levy.
thank
right?
you, and that may have resulted in some confusion. Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and if there's no further discussion on this, the motion is to reconsider Article 14. The effect of that is it reopens Article 14 for another motion and discussion.
Madam Moderator, just a point of order.
Yes, sir.
Is the vote to reconsider a simple majority, or is it a two-thirds supermajority?
The vote to reconsider is a simple majority.
Thank you.
And I will caution the voters that this will be our one vote to reconsider on this matter so that we don't get into a perpetual cycle of reconsideration of the same article. So we have a motion to reconsider Article 14, Fire Station Design. Okay? Please vote now. So a yes vote means you're in favor of reconsideration. A no vote means you do not want to return to Article 14. Ten seconds remaining. Okay, we have 80 in the affirmative, 54 in the negative for reconsideration. That is a simple majority, so we will reconsider Article 14. Yeah, absolutely. So I will reread Article 14, Fire Station Design, to see if the town will appropriate by borrowing, taxation, transfer from available funds, or otherwise, a sum of money to pay costs of this acquisition, as well as costs of retaining an owner's project manager and paying costs of a feasibility study and schematic design services, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, or take any action relative thereto or thereon. We had already received the recommendation of both the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen in favor of this article. Is there anything new? Oh, I have to call for another motion.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Borowski,
once again, I move that the town appropriate $674,000 to paying cost of designing a new fire station, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the selectmen, is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to MGL Chapter 44, Section 7-1, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore. The Board of Selectmen, Chief Procurement Officer, or any other appropriate town official or officials are authorized to enter into such contracts, and to take other such action as may be necessary to effectuate the purposes of this vote. Any premium received upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, lest any such premium applied to the payment of the cost of issuance of such bonds or notes may be applied to the payment of cost approved by this vote in accordance with MGL Chapter 44, Section 20, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such cost by a like amount.
thank you. And we have already received support from both the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen for this motion. Is there anything new to be said on this matter? Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Motion and a second. Thank you, Peter. Anything new to be said?
Madam Moderator?
Yes, Mr.
Rob
Barton.
Barton, 2 Mackenzie Road. I'm the chairman of the Fire Station Design Committee. I'd like to offer some explanation, maybe answer some questions for people regarding this project and where we're at, if that's all right.
If you could keep your comments brief, please.
So
Thank
out
you.
front, for anybody that came in before we were able to get the flyer, there is a flyer out front that explains where we're at in this process. I understand there's a few people that were able to get in before we were able to get them out. So what we did is we're on the same site. The town has already purchased that land. We've just shifted down the site a little bit. It's a smaller footprint for the fire station, and the design allows us to not allow the fire trucks to pass through the public parking lots. We listened very clearly to the public when they said that they didn't want to spend that much money for a public safety building. However, the need of the fire station didn't go away with a no vote. We redesigned the building. So this is the committee that's the professionals that we've hired from Tecton Architects and Vertex Engineering to help us with the design. We've taken the project and we've actually reduced it some more. Original public safety building was 40,000 square feet. The fire station alone was 27,000 square feet. When it defeated, we came back. We know that we got to get this project to happen. However, we also know that we got to get this project to happen at the lowest cost that we possibly can. Unfortunately, with COVID, we're in a very difficult time, but we are working through the process the best we can. We further reduced the size of the building by over 2,000 square feet. If we have some pictures on social media. So what this money is going to allow us to do is it's going to allow us to continue the design process in order for us to even get an idea of what this building is going to cost us. We know that it's going to cost us less than a public safety building. We just don't know how much lower. This vote, if it passes, will just allow us to continue the design, and we will come back before the citizens in October with the presentation of what we've gathered for information as to what this cost is going to be. Then you'll have the ability to say yay or nay to whether or not you want to move forward with the fire station.
Thank you.
Oh, one last point, sorry. Some people asked about the $1.4 million, and if, some people have said, did we recoup any of that information we gathered? We did. This number of $674,000 would be 35% higher if we didn't actually already spend that money. But a lot of the studies that we did for the public safety building, because we're staying on the same site, allow us to carry over, and we do have a savings that we're bringing over with us.
Thank you. Is there anything further to be said? Okay, hearing nothing. Please vote now. All in favor, press green. All opposed, press red. Three seconds. With 85 in the affirmative, 47 in the negative. We needed 88 votes for that to pass. As a 2/3 supermajority, we're 3 votes shy, so the motion is defeated. Thank you. Article 15, Stormwater Bylaw Update. To see if the town will vote to amend the Charlton General Bylaws, Chapter 175, Stormwater Management Bylaw, by deleting the present Chapter 175 and substituting therefore a new Chapter 175 recommended by the Conservation Commission and its consultant, a copy of which new proposed charter in its entirety is attached to this warrant, and copies of which are also available for review on the town official website, as well as in the town clerk's office during current normal business hours, or take any action relative thereto or thereon. This article is sponsored by the Conservation Commission. And do we have a motion?
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Borowski.
I move that the bylaw amendment proposed by Article 15 be amended by striking the words MS4 regulated area within the jurisdiction of from Section A of Section 175-4 thereof, and that otherwise the proposed bylaw be accepted as printed.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. May I have the recommendation of the Board of Selectmen?
The Board of Selectmen supports this motion.
Thank you. A majority vote is needed. Is there any discussion to be had on this matter? And I'll just point out in the back, under Article 15, it's in your town meeting warrant.
Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Yes, Mr. Cooper.
Peter Cooper, 194 Berry Corner Road. And there's a lot of pages to this bylaw, and I was just wondering if somebody could give a quick summary of what is it that's changing exactly and why, please.
Thank you.
So the current bylaw that we have this is actually generally consistent with it. It would actually bring it within conformity of the new the federal MS4 regulations. Really just some language changes and reorganization, but nothing substantial.
So the response is nothing substantial in terms of content, just some reorganization and bringing it up to snuff in terms of order.
Good evening, Dan Proudy, 134 Partridge Hill Road.
Mr. Proudy.
The town of Oxford had a consultant, and they approved an article like this for their bylaw. And if you read the whole thing, I was glancing through it. Earth disturbance, okay, so, today when in Oxford. Okay,
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry. Okay, I'll start over.
If you could speak directly into the microphone, please.
Okay.
Thank you. You're welcome to hold it.
How's
Yep,
this?
That's perfect. Thank you.
Everybody hear me?
Much better.
Okay. A couple of years ago, they adopted this in the town of Oxford, okay? So we always have a consultant, they say, gee, this is what you need, this is the next new thing, you gotta comply to this and that. So in Oxford today, I feel sorry for a young couple that wants to build a house. They have to go through site plan review. The site plan review process is very expensive. So I talked to a friend of mine who's building a house recently in Oxford. He's on a 1.5 acre lot. It's all sand, stormwater management. They had to design, besides designing the septic system, of course, it's almost like designing a septic system under the driveway and then catching all the roof water and putting it in almost like another septic system to recharge the water into the ground.
Would you please speak to the article in Charlton?
Well, this
Thank you.
This is what this article means. That's what I'm explaining. So that, just for that permit, and then the peer review from another engineer to check the engineer, came to $7,800. So just think about that. You're trying to build a house, you're gonna be paying for that for 30 years on your mortgage, plus the interest, okay? They have other things, non-disturbance. All right, your family's getting older, your kids drive cars, you wanna make your driveway bigger, you're gonna go back and you're gonna have an engineer design a driveway to add 2 parking spaces. You know, this isn't inside 128, where we have 8 and 10 and 12,000 and 5,000 square foot lots. You know, the minimum lot size for some time in Charlton's been 40 to 60 to 2 acre lots. So these things get passed in, and then, you know, the average person goes in, he wants to do something, he finds out what it costs him. He says, when did this come about? Well, it's because we've got something here today, and if you don't understand it, or if you read it a little more, you might say, do I really want to encumber my property by going with this bylaw? So I rest my case.
Okay, thank you. So for the point of clarification, are there new constraints outlined in this stormwater management article? Could you clarify that? So I believe that was the suggestion, was that there are new constraints being proposed, and so passage of this article would result in new constraints.
So currently, there is a stormwater management bylaw, or the MS4 regulations at the federal level require it for over an acre of disturbance, not necessarily an acre of the parcel of land. So it is, so under the federal guidelines, you know, it does speak to that 1 acre, but that is a disturbance property.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Mr. Boria.
That the conservation agent be allowed to speak as she's from out of town. Recognized.
Okay, thank you. In order to have an individual who's not a registered voter in the town of Charlton speak at town meeting, that requires a majority of the voters present to agree to that. So would you like to frame that in the form of a motion?
I move that residents of our community be allowed to speak if recognized by the moderator.
Could you be specific to the person that you're inviting to the microphone, please?
You're saying that every person from out of town who wants to get up and speak has to be motioned and
That's correct,
by
yeah.
the body?
Yeah.
Sure. All right, I move that Angela Panishow, the town's conservation agent, be allowed to be recognized to speak.
So the motion is that the town conservation agent be recognized to speak. There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion to be had? Hearing none. Okay, so we can take a voice vote on this, because it will take us too much time to set this up unless the voice vote is not clear. So all in favor of having our Conservation Commission agent speak at the town meeting, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Okay, a majority has it, the ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you. Would you please approach the mic and say your name?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. My name is Angela Panishow. I am the new conservation agent for the town. I do want to guarantee you that the intent and purpose of this bylaw is not to start super regulating single-family home development. There are the options for waivers to be put in place. I certainly would never require an operations and maintenance plan and full-on stormwater design for a single-family home. At the absolute minimum, I might ask for an erosion and sediment control plan that technically would come from any engineer designing a septic system or something. So the goal is to not over-regulate. It's just to sort of give consistency with what the EPA is requiring of us under the Clean Water Act. And I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anything further to be said on this article?
Robert Hartwig, 2 Freeman Road.
Mr. Hartwig?
Member of the Conservation Commission. I believe this is more or less a housekeeping matter, but I just would want to point out that, to the best of my knowledge, and I haven't missed any meetings, the Conservation Commission has never seen this or voted on it and is essentially unaware of it. As you know, we've been operating for the last year without a conservation agent. We've had a wetland scientist as a consultant. If you ever reviewed this, again, nothing was shared with us that I know of. So I would just point out that it's a little bit misleading to say that this is recommended by the Conservation Commission and possibly by its consultant. On the other hand, it seems to be, to me, more or less a housekeeping matter, and I'm not speaking for or against it. I just want to point out that it's sort of news to the Conservation Commission.
Thank you very much. That's helpful. So just to clarify for everyone, under Article 15, where it says sponsor Conservation Commission, it's sponsored by the commission that oversees that area. That does not mean the commission endorses it. And that's true for any of the articles. The Board of Selectmen, for example, may sponsor an article but not support the article. So by sponsoring, it just means they're allowing it onto the warrant. So the comment was made, the Conservation Commission is unaware of this article. Okay. Is there anything else to be said on this matter? Okay, a majority vote is needed. All in favor, please vote yes. Those opposed, please vote no. Ten seconds remaining. "56 votes in the affirmative, 69 votes in the negative. The motion did not achieve the majority vote needed and does not pass. Okay, we will now consider Article 16. Article 16, Building Height Amendment in IG Zones. To see if the town will vote to amend Charlton zoning bylaw, Section 200-3.2, Use Regulations, D, Intensity of Use Schedule, to read as set forth below, the intent being to allow an increase of building or other structure height in IG zoning districts from the present 50 feet to up to, but no more than, 75 feet, subject to approval of a special permit from the planning board, and provided that the required minimum setback from the building or structure approved for the special permit to both A, the nearest residential structure, including any accessory use structure, and B, the nearest boundary of any abutting residential or agricultural zoning district boundary line, shall be double the ordinarily required setback in the zone in which the building structure so approved is located. So the intensity of use schedule follows as printed in your warrant on page 11. I won't read the numbers, but I will read the notation below that the maximum building height may exceed 36 feet, up to no more than 50 feet in the industrial, general, and the business enterprise zone districts, subject to a special permit from the planning board so approving, provided that the nearest portion of any building or structure so exceeding 36 feet in height must be set back twice the ordinary required minimum setback for that zoning district from both A, the nearest residential structure, including any accessory structure, and B, the nearest boundary line of any abutting residential or agricultural zoning district. Further, lots having not less than 75 acres of land in the industrial general, the maximum building height may exceed 36 feet up to no more than 75 feet, subject to a special permit from the planning board so approving, provided that the nearest portion of any building or structure so exceeding 36 feet in height must be set back 3 times the ordinary required minimum required setback from both the nearest residential structure, including any accessory structure, and the nearest boundary line of any abutting residential or agricultural zoning district, or take any action relative thereto or thereon. This motion is sponsored by the planning board. Do we have a motion? Mr. Boria.
I move that town vote to approve Article 16 as written.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. May I please have the recommendation of the planning board for Article 16?
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Smith.
John Smith, Vice Chair, Planning Board. The Planning Board supports this motion.
Thank you. May I have the recommendation of the Board of Selectmen?
The Board of Selectmen supports this motion.
Thank you. A 2/3 vote will be needed. Is there any discussion on this matter?
Madam Moderator?
Yes, Mr. Saper.
I'd speak as representing the Economic Development Commission as the chair. Would like to inform the town residents that we are also in support of this article. This is not voting on any particular one project, only to vote on the consideration and discussing for a particular project. So these type of projects in these already zones, commercial zones, do have a significant economic impact for the town. New jobs, obviously tax revenue, and this is something that we could use to offset future costs in projects such as a fire station.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think everybody knows who I am by now.
Mr. Proudy.
I just think to make a motion that, I think there's a proponent for the project here that's not a town resident. I'd like to make a motion that they be allowed to, explain what this is about.
Do you have someone here who you wish to have speak?
Attorney Barbowski.
Okay, so we have a motion to allow a non-resident to provide additional information on this article to speak. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion to be had? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay, the motion carries. We will allow our outside speaker. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Moderator. Mark Bobrowski, my office is in Concord, Massachusetts. I represent GFI Partners with regard to this warrant article.
Good evening, Mr. Bobrowski. You may have to pick up the microphone. Thank you.
Thank you. This parcel is one of a kind in Charlton. There is only one 75-acre vacant parcel left in the IG district. Our parcel is on the Sturbridge line. The site is at 241 Sturbridge Street, and proposed here is a state-of-the-art warehouse facility with about 1.2 million gross square feet. The greater height is necessary because the industry is changing rapidly. It'll allow for greater efficiency on the project site. The overall cost of building this is going to be about $60 million. There'll be 1,000 jobs after the construction stage has ended, and it's estimated that the gross tax revenue for the municipality will be about $909,000 in annual property tax payments. So we urge favorable action on this, and thank you.
Thank you. Could you please repeat the entity that you represent? Because
GFI Partners.
GFI Partners. Okay, thank you, Mr. Bobrowski. Mr. Sage.
Are there buildings currently in Charlton that are at 75 feet?
That's a very good question. Do we have any buildings that are 75 feet in height in the town of Charlton?
Yes, I believe the Masonic Home has certain parts that are 75 feet as well as Millennium. And I believe so. We have Millennium on Route 169 that's over 75 feet. Parts of the Overlook are over 75 feet, as well as the spire at St. Joseph's Church.
Thank you.
There's probably a couple of more depending on how hard you look.
Is there anything further to be said?
Madam Moderator.
Yes, Mr. Boria.
I think it's important to recognize that the request falls under the special permit category for the planning board. That special permit doesn't mean that they're allowed to do this by right. The special permit allows the planning board to consider each request on its own merits and either approve or disapprove them accordingly. No precedence is set if one is approved and the second project comes forward secondly. And again, they have the sole authority to approve or deny a project based on what's presented.
Thank you. Is there anything further to be said? Hearing none on Article 16. Please vote now. Green in the affirmative, red in the negative. A 2/3 vote is needed here. Ten seconds remaining. We have 124 votes in the affirmative, 12 in the negative. The motion carries. Article 17, Building Height Amendment in BEP Zones. To see if the town will vote to amend Charlton zoning bylaw, Section 200-3.2, Use Regulations, D, Intensity of Use Schedule, to read as set forth below, the intent being to allow an increase of building or other structure height in BEP zoning districts from the present 50 feet up to but no more than 110 feet, subject to approval of a special permit from the planning board, and provided that the required minimum setback from the building structure approved for the special permit to both A, the nearest residential structure, including any accessory use structure, and B, the nearest boundary of any abutting residential or agricultural zoning district boundary line, shall be double the ordinarily required setback in the zone in which the building structure so approved is located. I won't read the intensity of use schedule, which shows the minimum lot area, maximum building height. Maximum building height may exceed 36 feet, up to no more than 50 feet in the business enterprise zone districts, subject to a special permit from the planning board so approving, provided that the nearest portion of any building or structure so exceeding 36 feet in height must be set back twice the ordinary required minimum setback, for that zoning district from both A, the nearest residential structure, including any accessory structure, and B, the nearest boundary line of any abutting residential or agricultural zoning district. Further, lots not having less than 75 acres of land in the business enterprise zone districts, the maximum building height may exceed 36 feet up to no more than 110 feet, subject to a special permit from the planning board so approving, provided that the nearest portion of any building or structure so exceeding 36 feet in height must be set back 3 times the ordinary required minimum required setback from both A, there's a correction to be made there, the nearest residential structure, including any accessory structure, and B, the nearest boundary line of any abutting residential or agricultural zoning district, or take any action relative thereto or thereon. This article is sponsored by the planning board. Do we have a motion? Yes, Mr. Poirier.
As written.
We have a motion to approve Article 17 as written. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. May I have the recommendation of the planning board, please?
John Smith, Planning Board. The Planning Board.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The Planning Board does not support this motion.
Thank you. May I have the recommendation of the Board of Selectmen, please?
The Board of Selectmen does not support this motion.
Thank you. This motion would require a 2/3 vote needed. Is there any discussion to be had? Mr. Sage?
I'd like to know why the planning board does not support this. And then second, I'd like to know why the Board of Selectmen does not support it. And if it was a vote by the selectmen, if it was a unanimous vote or a mixed vote.
So, from the planning board, why does the planning board not support this motion, please? We'll start there.
John Smith, Planning Board.
Please speak up.
John Smith, Planning Board. It was a 3-2 vote with the Planning Board, and we've had discussions on this topic. And I think the general feeling of the majority of this board at the time was that we just didn't have enough time to vet these projects, because the project would affect 5 areas in town in the business enterprise zone. So we cautioned on on wanting to see some more information, some more impact studies, some more input from the townspeople to see if this 110-story building would be feasible and approved for the town. Simple as that.
So the response was that the process, you did not have enough time to fully consider this proposal, the impact on 5 sections in town, and a need to have more input relative to the feasibility and impact of a 110-foot building. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Sorry, Madam Moderator, just a point of order.
Excuse me, yes, Board of Selectmen.
Thanks.
Second part of the question was, why did the Board of Selectmen not support this motion? Thank you.
Thank you. So the Board of Selectmen, similar to the Planning Board, had a 3-2 vote to not support. I would hesitate to speak for my colleagues. I would obviously welcome them to speak. For myself, my only concern was more upon principle, in fact, it's pretty obvious that we are making a zoning change for one specific company without actually knowing who that company is. That being said, there are good reasons for it. There's obviously pros and cons, but at least for me individually, that was my only concern. Again, I defer to the other members of my board if they want to say anything.
If there are other members of the board who wish to speak, please use the microphone so that people can hear you. You got, no, you got to. Thank you.
Soft-spoken.
Mr. Singer.
David Singer, thank you, Board of Selectmen. No, it was a 3-2 vote. My vote was also no, along with Mr. Borowski. It's not because the project may or may not be good, or they may or may not be nice people. To me, I just make my decisions based upon facts and what's known. I've never been known to gamble when it comes to my community, and I don't like making decisions when things are being kept secret on something that could affect everyone who lives in Charlton. It may be a great opportunity. Unfortunately, I don't know enough about it because they're not sharing enough for me. So like Mr. Borowski, more principle. Doesn't mean it's good or bad. It just means they haven't shared enough transparently for me with the community.
Thank you. So generally from the Board of Selectmen, not enough transparency in the process and a suggestion of secrecy. Yes.
Yeah. Steve Coronis, Charlton Board of Selectmen.
Mr. Coronis.
Madam Moderator. I voted in support of this project. I think, in my mind, there's not a large difference between 110 feet and 75 feet. Some people may feel that. I just don't, based on the 3-time setback, as far as the not knowing who the client is as an excuse to turn it down, we just voted yes on Article 16. Who's that client? Do we know who that is? Well, there's not even, so the actual, and the people are here tonight from the company from Blue Water that's trying to come into this site. They want to speak for a little bit. I'd welcome town meeting to listen to them, listen to their proposal. They still can't give us the name of it because those are their confidentiality rules in that, and anybody that understands that knows that that's typical. That's not being sneaky. Anything that I saw, the presentations I've already seen from them, they're talking about 1,000 to 1,200 jobs, and they're talking $2.4 million in tax revenue in year one. And they also want to come into town and be operational in 2023. I think that's all this vote will do is to allow the height restriction and to allow the height limit and let us learn more about the project. If we say no tonight, we'll never know any more about it. That's all it does. The planning board still has special permit. There are so many other checks and balances in place. But
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Ms. Deek?
I am a alternate on the planning board. I also sit on the Charlton Economic Development Commission. I could not vote on the project. I would have voted in favor of it. We heard tonight that this town voted down a design for a new fire station that currently leaks. We need tax revenue, and we voted affirmatively to Article 16. Let's vote affirmatively now. Let's bring in a big warehouse that will not tax our schools, that will not tax our infrastructure, that will not take all of our resources versus a 100 house subdivision that would do all those things. And we don't know the client, to Steve's point, in Article 16. We will know once it gets approved. And if it is approved, you're not approving a project. You're approving the planning board's ability to hear what they have to say, and there will be traffic studies. There will be all sorts of, under a special permit, They are so well policed, and there will be public hearings, so every resident who has the desire can come and be heard. So I urge you to vote in favor of the town, because a project like this could help Charlton financially, whereas by denying this project, you're denying our fiscal future. And I would like to make a motion to allow a non-resident to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Zeke. We have a motion to allow a non-resident. Could you be specific to whom you're inviting, please?
Yes, Alex Escalamelia. And I probably just butchered her poor last name.
That's okay. I'm going to probably rebutcher it. So we have a motion for Alex Escalia to address the town meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion relative to hearing from,
Can we actually change that to their attorney, Mark Donahue, from Fletcher, Tilton, and Whipple?
certainly. So you're withdrawing the original motion. Okay. And we have a motion to hear from
Their
Mark
attorney.
Donahue, the attorney for the project.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion relative to hearing from Mr. Donahue? Okay. We're going to do that by a voice vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. No. Okay, the ayes have it, a simple majority, and I invite Mr. Donahue to address the town.
Thank you, Madam Moderator, and thank you to the town meeting members for the opportunity. I do want to clarify a couple of things with regard to Article 17, because I think it is critically important to the town. First, the vote with regard to Article 17 is not a vote for a project. It is vote for a zone change, which allows, much like Article 16 that you adopted, an applicant to go to the planning board and seek a special permit, which requires a supermajority vote, demonstrating that the benefits of the project outweigh any detriments both to neighboring properties and the town as a whole. You are not approving a project. You are not changing the use of land in the business enterprise zone. You are affecting very limited parcels in the business enterprise zone, which by definition are extremely large, not less than 75 acres, all of which have access to Route 20. The reason that you should vote yes is it creates the opportunity for tax revenue. The BEP zone has been targeted in this community for economic development. It is a specific provision of your master plan. That is all targeted to creating diversity in your tax base and reducing the burden of the residential taxpayer so as to have commercial and industrial use in town. By approving Article 17, you jumpstart development by showing that Charlton welcomes this type of new development that goes up instead of out in some fashion, and you distinguish yourself essentially from other communities. This isn't academic. We know this is true. We know this is true, as you heard from the Board of Selectmen and others, that we have a specific Fortune 100 company involved in e-commerce retail that has a proprietary packaging system that requires height instead of going out in some fashion. Now, it's true that we're not in a position to tell you which Fortune 100 e-commerce retailer is involved, but I would suggest to you there's only 3 in the Fortune 100, and at least one of those, I assume, has been in your home at the last week in some fashion. If Article 17 is successful, then we go past that point, and I can guarantee you that the identity of the tenant will be known very shortly to town officials and well before the planning board process starts and the permitting, and we'll have full transparency as to their use, the jobs they're going to create, and the tax revenue. The development that they're contemplating is an investment of more than $300 million into your community. That generates, in our estimation, in the first 10 years on average, $2.4 million of tax revenue annually, and in year 11 it grows exponentially. That's money for you to spend. You spend it on schools, you spend it on public safety, you spend it on infrastructure, or you simply reduce your residential tax base. You make those determinations, but you do it with the availability.
Thank you.
Transformative development is never easy, and change is never easy. But you can't be concerned or discomfort by change because of something new. You need to trust the permitting process that exists at the local and state level. All we're looking for is the chance to submit innumerable impact studies, answer every single question, convince this town that this project works in its full. We asked for that chance and the chance to go through that rigorous process. We asked for your yes vote.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Donahue.
Really?
Yes, Chief Knopf?
Keep it short, that's your best.
I have a timer, so we're all
Just a
keeping it
point of
short.
clarity, we received a phone call today at the fire station asking the size of our tower truck and its reach. That has no bearing on our ability to fight a fire in a building of that height. That building will be highly coated with sprinklers, standpipes, and all other things that will assist the firefighters in their job at that site. So that should not be a concern of anybody in the town. Secondly, I'd like to hear what the Economic Development Committee has to say about this. And lastly, I would just ask everybody to take a look at Route 20 coming in from the Sturbridge line and look at the empty or abandoned buildings that litter Route 20. Sims, Zorbers, the Christensen gas station, the mill, they're all there, and it's all wasted. It's time for this town to act. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's keep our comments to the four corners of the article. Thank you.
Madam Moderator.
Yes, Mr. McGrath.
John McGrath, 10 Flanagan Hill Road, Charles.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
Having spent numerous time on the planning board, and having had to deal with Mr. Donahue, he did a marvelous job explaining everything. A couple of the points that I want to point out is that both, we called them the Kozlowski property, and the other property was Dan Prouty's property. We voted on Dan's property tonight to allow the height to go to 75 feet. And we'd like to, my wish would be to vote for the same thing for the Kozlowski property, to give them the ability to go for a special permit before the planning board. As has been reiterated here, the planning board has total control over the special permit process. Okay? As to the point where we don't know who this is or what it is, you know, what they want to bring into town, that is not unusual. The planning board over many, many years has had to keep things very quiet about who was trying to come to town and who isn't trying to come to town. That's the agreements that you have to sign as you're doing negotiations with it. And the majority of the planning board is not involved. It's usually the chairman or the vice chairman that's involved in that. I want to reiterate what Mr. Donahue did say. Please give this a chance. Please vote yes and allow them to go to this planning board where it will be tightly controlled. I have great faith in the planning board and the town planner to control this, okay? These two properties have sat vacant, and what, 20 years? You've been waiting, at least? All right?
Thank you.
And we have a chance to, move this forward. Please, thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anything new to be said on this topic? Mr. Prouty.
Yes, please, I'll be short. Confidentiality. From time to time, I get leads from the state. Years ago, it was Project Whippoorwill. And when we made a pitch to another town that had all the infrastructure, they sent us packing because they wanted to know the name. Well, the reason people don't know is, you know, they want to make sure they have the permits and they can build it before they can tell their employees, or if they're moving from another part. Well, Project Whippoorwill, today it's called Bristol-Myers Squibb, and it didn't come to this region and ended up at Devon's because they did not have the chance to even get up the plate and take a swing in our area. So that's another reason why we should consider this strongly tonight. I'm going to vote for it, but I have a vested interest, to be honest.
Thank you. Is there anything new to be said on this matter?
Madam Moderator?
Mr. Smith.
I did not want to speak for my board, and I would like to invite any of the
Carroll Planning Board members to speak, as so eloquently said by Mr. Borowski. So with his board, I'd like to know if any of the other board members present here would like to speak on behalf of Article 17.
Thank you. So other members of the planning board? Mr. Clay.
Good evening, Don Clay, H. Putnam Road. I'm a member of the planning board. I did vote against this. I did vote against this proposal for a couple of reasons. One, concerning who the customer was. It wasn't clear to me at the time, still isn't. The second one, I was worried about the aesthetics of the building within the town and some of the locations we have. There's several spots that something like this could go up, and I didn't see it fitting into the community like it should. But one of the main reasons I voted against it is with a negative recommendation from the planning board, it would take 2 years before this could come up in front of the town meeting again. With a favorable recommendation, it could come up at every town meeting again. So I thought in the spirit of saving town meeting time for the people, it's really the choice of the people in this town, and they should make that decision. It's a lot of money, there's good points and there's bad points, but it's really up to the town.
Thank you. So just to be clear on a point of procedure, because the planning board does not support this motion, it cannot come back up to town meeting for consideration for another 2 years if it is rejected tonight.
Robert Coleman, 25 West Applewood Drive, Charlton.
Mr. Coleman?
I would like to speak to note that somebody a while back expressed a concern that we are clearly making a change to the zoning laws to benefit a specific development. And while I understand that there are cases around the country all the time where a company will be given special carve-outs in order to bring development to a town, and sometimes it doesn't pan out. This is not necessarily a case where they're getting some sort of tax break or something. On the contrary, they will be paying a good deal of taxes. But it just so happens that this is a particularly large development, and whereas a zoning law may affect many small developments, a large development simply is the only one of its size, at least for now, assuming that we do not get even more economic development as a result of this positive signal. An employer of 1,000 people in a town of less than 14,000 certainly is substantial enough to be unique. So it is not necessarily concerning that the law is being changed to accommodate a specific individual development. That is all.
Thank you for your comment.
My name is Bill Fontaine, Pineland.
Mr. Fontaine.
I'm on the planning board, also on the economic development committee, and also on TV Charlton, which is filming this and recording it for everyone here tonight. I would like to recommend supporting this Article 17. I think what we're seeing here in Articles 16 and 17, you understand that the zoning bylaws for the town of Charlton is a pretty comprehensive, very large document, and it's reviewed and updated pretty infrequently because of its size. And sometimes it's updated very sporadically, and you may have conflicting zoning requirements in there. What we're seeing is that business development is outpacing our ability to change the zoning bylaws. And what you're seeing in the use code that says the height restrictions of 36 feet, you know, and that was set probably like 30 years ago. Just by accident, someone just chose a number of 36 feet. Had we been keeping up with a more frequent update of the zoning bylaws and talking to developers at the same time, the height restriction use may well be 150 feet in order to accommodate some of the new designs and developments that developers in town are seeking. So I think this is just a remnant that we're trying to catch up with our zoning bylaws to accept perfectly acceptable buildings here in town. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anything new to be said? Mr. Saper.
Madam Speaker, I'll keep this short again. Speaking on behalf of the Economic Development Commission, as the chair, we are also in support of this article. I won't reiterate, everything that was said was spot on. Again, this is a vote for just a consideration. It does not approve any one specific project. All the vetting that would take place for any other development will still be there. So in terms of not being able to vet and look at all these different unique circumstances that may come up, that's certainly not the case. So again, the economic development impact there is significant. Again, 2.4 million minimally, the jobs it'll create, and there's also a potential for them to address certain infrastructure issues that we have as well, that we are not budgeted for or not on our radar in terms of planning. So again, this a great opportunity for discussion, does not approve any one thing, and we are in support of it.
Thank you. Is there anything new to be said on this matter? Isn't New England town meeting wonderful? Yes. Do you have a microphone?
Loud enough voice. Good afternoon, guys. Barbara Zarowski, I'm your newest select woman. And I just want to state a point that I was one of the people that voted in favor of that zoning increase. And I agree with everybody who supported this. Everything that was said, you know, I agree with. I just want to add 2 points. First of all, Alex from the Blue Water Group, I think she did a fabulous job trying to get to the people the best she could. She publicized it over the social media. She had several PowerPoint presentations to that matter, which I attended 3 of them. Very informative. We received a description of overall description of what this is all about, in a sense of how many jobs will be created, how big of the project that really is. We got all the information short of the actual name of the investor. I'm also a woman of the principle. I agree with my with the Board of Selectmen on that, but my principle here would be the complete faith in all the boards that we have in the town. Again, this is just basically opening the gateway to create the good optics for Charlton as a welcoming town, open-minded people, and then we'll go through the special permitting, and and with that said, that's when my faith lies in all the departments that will be exposed to all the details, and Board of the Selectmen was one of them. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your comments.
Madam Moderator, I'd like to make a motion to move the previous question.
Thank you. We have a motion to move the question and a second. All in favor of moving the question?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion to move the question has been moved.
I've been waiting all week, I'm not gonna lie.
Has been approved. Thank you. So if everyone would please take out your clickers and vote now. Green is in the affirmative, red is in the negative. Thank you. Ten seconds remaining. One 119 votes in the affirmative, 19 votes in the negative. The article has achieved the 2/3 vote needed and has been approved. Article 18. I will ask for people to please refrain from outside conversations. We have business to finish, and I appreciate you all staying for that. Article 18, zoning map amendment, parcel 46B-2, to see if the town will vote to amend the zoning map, section 200. Please refrain from conversation. To see if the town will vote to amend the zoning map, section 200.3.1.b, by making the following changes. Adding assessor's parcel 46B2 consisting of 8 plus or minus acres currently zoned agricultural to the adjacent industrial general district. The proposed zoning map change is shown on the attached map in the back of your warrant, or take any action relative thereto or thereon. Do we have a motion?
Madam Moderator?
Mr. Borowski?
I'll yield my time to Mr. Proudy if you like.
Mr. Proudy, are you making a motion? Point of order. Article 18, the map in the back. Are you suggesting that parcel 46-B-2 is 80 acres, 80? 84 acres?
The planning board's been notified, we'd like to table that.
Yeah, this is.
All right, I'm sorry, I should learn by now, I'm a slow learner. Okay, I was just reiterating, we have notified the planning board, I'm here representing the Jajimzek family, that we want to table this and come back with more information.
So you're making a motion to table
Yes.
Article 18. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to lay this article on the table, which is essentially the same as the language in your warrant, which is to postpone indefinitely. Do we have a recommendation from the planning board?
Planning board recommends we postpone this
Thank you.
article.
Thank you. Do we have a recommendation from the Board of Selectmen?
The Board of Selectmen supports postponing consideration of this article.
Thank you. Is there anything to be said on this matter? To the point of postponement, a majority vote is needed, not a two-thirds vote. Are we prepared to vote? Okay. If you would, is there any further discussion? No? Mr. Proudy, are you all set?
I can redo it.
Are you done commenting, sir? Okay, thank you. Okay, we will vote. So all in favor, press green. Those opposed, press red. '89 in the affirmative, 4 in the negative. The motion carries, and we will postpone Article 18. Article 19, zoning map amendment, Berry Corner Road. To see if the town will vote to amend the zoning map, section 200.3.1.b, by making the following changes. Add assessor's parcel 4-B-1.4, consisting of 44 plus or minus acres, currently zoned agricultural, to the adjacent industrial general district. The proposed zoning map change is shown on the attached map, or take any other action relative thereto or thereon. Do we have a motion on Article 19?
Madam Moderator,
Yes, Mr. Cooper.
I move that consideration of Article 19 be postponed indefinitely, please.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion on postponement? Hearing none. All those in favor, vote in the affirmative, green. Those against, vote no. A majority vote is needed because this is just a postponement motion. 10 seconds remaining. Thank you. 82 in the affirmative, 3 in the negative. The motion carries. Article 18 is postponed. Article 19, Oh, excuse me. Where am I?
I think we're on 20, Madam Moderator.
We're on 20, excuse me. 82 to 3 was Article 19. Article 20. Zoning map amendment, change from partial agricultural BEP to all BEP on Carroll Hill Road. To see if the town will vote to amend the zoning map, section 200.3.1.b, by making the following changes. Amend the assessor's parcel 4-B-1.4, consisting of 44 plus or minus acres currently zoned agricultural business enterprise park to all business enterprise park district. The proposed zoning map change is shown on the attached map, or take any other action relative thereto or thereon. Do we have a motion?
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Borowski.
unless the property owner disagrees, I move that consideration of Article 20 be postponed indefinitely.
Motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on postponement? Hearing none. Please vote now. All in favor, green. Those opposed, red. Requires a simple majority. Five seconds. (82) in the affirmative, 2 in the negative, the motion carries. Article 21, zoning map amendment, change from agricultural to CB, map 38, lot 14.3, 5 Glenmore Road. To see if the town will vote to amend the zoning map, section 200.3.1.b, by making the following changes. Add assessor's parcel 38-A-14.3, consisting of 1 plus or minus acres, currently zoned agricultural, to the adjacent community business district. The proposed zoning map change is shown on the attached map, or take any action, any other action relative thereto or thereon. Is there a motion on Article 21?
To include that in the change?
Could you please clarify exactly which parcel this is affecting?
It is affecting the 451 parcel. So I would like to add to the motion to the sliver on the proposed zoning change.
Are you referring to this section?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. So it's the white space between, on the right-hand side of the attachment in your warrant, is the map of the proposed zoning. And so the motion now includes the small triangle between 5 Glenmere Road and the CB zone beneath it. Is that specifically following this triangle with the thin line to
Yes.
the left?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Are all voters clear on what I'm referring to? Thank you. Okay, so the motion is,
Madam Moderator, point of order.
yes, sir.
Does that have to be in writing?
Well,
Because we're amending the map, correct? Sorry, I'm a policy wonk.
here. Okay, sir, do you have the pen? Thank you very much, Bill. Yes, Mr. Clay.
just a little bit.
Okay.
Because of the way that the zoning in the CB district is drawn along Route 20, a portion of his current property is zoned agriculture. And that's one little small corner on this map. And to go through that zoning would have been a longer process. So it was discussed actually during the planning board's public hearing that that piece could be added to this amendment, as an amendment to this article, to include that. It's just basically continuing his property that's already in that lot, that's not quite in the zoning district, and it's a very small piece of property. So it's just kind of clearing up that little sliver in between the two lots.
And so all of these lots are owned by the same property owner?
So the lot that is changing and the lot that we're, yes. Short answer, yes, it's all owned by the same owner.
So the motion will read as printed in your warrant with an additional sentence. And the sentence is to also rezone the sliver of land on 451 Worcester Road that is agriculture to community business. We have a proposed amendment to this article. I need a second. Thank you. We have a motion and a second to amend this article. Is there anything to be said on the amendment?
Madam Moderator.
Yes, sir, Mr. Cooper.
Peter Cooper, 194 Berry Corner Road. I just wanted to be clear, is this a motion to approve as printed with this change, like all is one motion?
No, this is a motion to amend the article by adding the sentence
And then
as
after
read.
this, we would vote on the thing as amended.
Correct. It's a motion to amend. He's making a motion to add the sentence.
Just want to be clear what we're voting on. Thank you.
Yep, that's correct, Mr. Cooper.
What's correct?
That it is the motion as stands is to add a sentence to the article to read, to also rezone the sliver of land on 451 Worcester Road that is agriculture to community business. All right, we have a motion to add this sentence. Do we have a second? Yes, we had a second. Any further discussion on the amendment? Okay, we're going to vote now. All in favor of adding that sentence, please press the green button. All those opposed, press the red. just having a sidebar conversation with the attorney regarding this going to the Attorney General's office for approval, and noting that the indication of this wedge of land on the parcel is hard to identify relative to the entire agricultural zone of the remainder of the property. So we want this motion to be a legal motion, but we had 72 votes in the affirmative to add the sentence. And 3 in the negative.
No, that's a continuation. Sir, you're the property owner? Would you please come up and speak with town council very briefly? Excuse me for a moment.
Worcester Road. The Attorney General's going to look at this, say, what the hell is that? It's not identified. Right. It's nowhere, is it identified? So I was trying to think, I'm giving you the opportunity to come up with a better description, something like, this was the, the map attached to the warrant, and the triangle between, what, the upper, well, between the Glenmore Road shown on that, on the right-hand side of the map, and the parcel below, the CV parcel below, the triangle, it's really clear.
Which is bound by the property line.
I don't want to be wording your motion, please.
Right, and
I don't know, I'm not a lawyer.
normally this has to be done before the meeting, so we'll.
You think you come up with something clear enough for them to understand, or you want to? That's what you're saying, the triangle.
To rezone, and to rezone.
Between, you're saying between 5 Glenmore Road, as shown on the map attached to the posted warrant. And the parcel below that, bearing the letter CB.
Parcel.
You could even see the triangle shown in white between those two.
Triangular-shaped parcel, the white.
We still can't guarantee the AG is going to approve it. We're just trying to get you closer to the.
Right, so to rezone the white triangle-shaped parcel between 5 Glenmere Road, parcel 38A-14.3, and the current CB zone
same over by Plymouth. And I think you're saying to rezone the, you have to say, not the white triangle, you have to say that the area shown as a white triangle. Between 5 and 1. Yeah. I think it's the last. It's attached to one, doesn't have a page. Well, actually, look at this.
Where's Liam Coleman? Somebody go there.
Attached to, it's on the, it's on the other side. That's pretty clear. Yeah. Okay, so don't run it up a flagpole and see if they salute. Yes, sir.
We'll try to. So we have one vote standing, so we'll
Yeah.
motion to withdraw. 1.3 or anything? The amendment and to restate, right?
So this is basically just the main motion, right?
Anything you want to say?
This is
We voted on it.
as opposed to adding this sentence.
That's right. You don't want, if he withdraws his motion, then you're gonna have a motion to amend the zoning map, let's say as described in the article, accept that, and then you add some of the text.
Well, we're doing this. We're going to look at this article, see if the motion to add the parcel currently zoned as currently.
Okay, and you wanna see, and by adding there too?
That's the 11 kids.
Let's see, it says this continuing from these to the adjacent community business area, so you wanna say, add assessors parcel 38A4.
I know that here, parcel 38A.1. Yes, it is. That's the five.
All right, okay. And then you say, then you get into the
We're just trying to be entertaining.
Been warned once. Don't make me incite mass general law. We have to retype.
So I did it, we wanted it, but it's, because we voted.
So first of all, because we voted on the amendment and then received information expressing concern that the Attorney General's office would not approve the motion as written because it did not adequately describe the parcel of land, we need to withdraw the original motion. Do I have a motion to withdraw? Thank you. And a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so rescinded, thank you. Now. Okay, so, Mr. Inamarsh, are you then, would you like to restate your motion? Or would you like me to read it from the podium? So you have submitted a motion to amend the article to read, and, so it would still remain as it was, and to rezone the area shown as a white triangle-shaped parcel between 5 Glenmere Road, parcel 38-A-14.3, and the current CB zone immediately below same as indicated on the map attached to the warrant, Article 21.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion to be had on the proposed amendment? Yes. Yes. Hearing none. All in favor, we'll do a voice vote.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. So we now have an amended. So we now need a motion to approve Article 21 as amended.
I move that we approve Article 21 as amended.
Thank
Second.
you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, we'll do a voice vote.
Aye.
Okay, we'll do a count then. We have it typed in, and this will be the official vote. So everyone with your devices, please vote now. All in favor of Article 21 as amended with the green, those opposed with the red. Please vote. The official vote is 54 in the affirmative, 6 in the negative, and the motion carries.
Madam Moderator.
Mr. Borowski.
I just want to say A, nice job tonight, and B, motion to adjourn. Who loves you, Kurt?
Motion and a second. This is your final vote, please. All in favor, please vote yes. Anyone opposed, please vote no. Please wait for one moment while we call the vote.
Good try, Kurt. I know, it's a big, I know. Why do you
10
think I do?
seconds.
I'm such a jerk. I don't know what you never know what I gotta go pick up my signs. In anger. I'm taking my chips home if you guys are need.
Thank you. The meeting is adjourned. Several of you want to stay behind. I'll stick around. Thank you so much for participating in your town meeting.
No, Reed, seriously, nice job tonight. Seriously, very nice job.
Thank you.